Ladies and gentlemen, Fourth and Trollers, welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. I'm Noah Selby.
I'm Wes Selby.
And we have got a holly jolly, beautiful, lovely episode for you guys this Friday morning. Holly and jolly because, well, it's Christmas this weekend. We're so excited to be able to just celebrate the holidays, celebrate whatever you celebrate. But we're going to be celebrating some Christmas cheer and we're so thrilled to be able to have an opportunity to, wish some listeners. We have listeners, Wes. Like we have listeners to wish a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to.
Wonderful.
So cool to be able to do that. Wes, you have now been in Phoenix for 4 or 5 days now. How are things? How are things going?
I went to go sit out on the patio this morning to enjoy some early breakfast and some coffee, do a little writing. For those of you that don't know me personally, I also write as well, work in film a little bit. And it's 40 degrees.
Yep.
So the desert is cold. Let us not forget that just because it is the Sun State and it is the Phoenix Suns there in the NBA world, it's cold. It gets cold here. And you know what? I'm glad because I get to bundle up and enjoy the holidays as much as I can. Noah, how are you doing? 2 days till Christmas, dude. Woo!
I know. I'm excited, man. I'm good. We for those who don't know myself personally, myself and my wife, we have a dog. Her name is Midge. Midge actually turns 1 year old today.
Oh,
the day this episode is airing. So we got a little, doggy birthday cake and all this stuff for her.
That's adorable.
Yeah, it's fun times. But I'm sure we're gonna start out our day here today, and I'll just guarantee it that it's going to be a cool, brisk walk in the morning to let Midge relieve herself. And I believe Thursday morning's walk, I believe the temperature was about 38 degrees when we were taking that walk. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's cold. It feels like Christmas. Feels like Christmas time. Feels like the holidays. But I'm doing good, man. We're close. It's exciting. It's gonna be a fun time. We'll be able to hang out on Christmas West, which is gonna be fun. Hopefully, watch the Dolphins kick some Packers butt, and gonna be a fun time there for sure. We have a great show for you guys today. Much better show today than the Jets offense. And we're going to talk about what happened last night between the Jacksonville Jaguars and New York Jets up in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Give you some studs and duds of the semifinals because, well, Wes, we've never been wrong. And
that's right.
But first things first, as always, hit us with the news, Wes. What do we need to know going into round 2 semifinals week of the fantasy playoffs?
Yeah, congratulations if you are listening to Fourth and Troll and you are in the semifinals. Very happy to hear that. We're rooting for all of you. Of course, if by some chance you're playing against each other, good luck. Hopefully this advice helps you for this episode. So first things first, just a quick loving reminder to all you trollers here. There are several games on Saturday, Christmas Eve this week. So make sure you check your lineups today to make sure you've got everything ready to go. Best luck if you've made the semifinals. Just look through everything, couple games, morning, afternoon, and evening. Just make sure that you're not behind by accident if you've gotten to this routine of checking on Saturdays or Sunday mornings. Okay, so for the real NFL news, biggest news of the week, the Eagles will be without Jalen Hurts for this week against the Cowboys. Nick Sirianni has decided to rest the MVP candidate and stick with Gardner Minshew. Just quick thoughts and prayers, T's and P's to all of you who have to try to win your fantasy league, your semifinals without Jalen Hurts. Best of luck. Hopefully you have a decent backup to try to get you into the championship. That's going to be tough. Okay. Speaking of quarterbacks, it's going to be a couple of these here for this segment here. Ryan Tannehill suffered an ankle injury on Sunday against the Chargers, was carted off the field. He eventually came back to finish the game. However, Tannehill has already been declared out for this game and may actually be out for this season. The Titans are determining whether Tannehill needs surgery, in which case, if he does, Malik Willis will not obviously just start on this weekend, but will take the helm for Tennessee for the rest of the season to try to keep them in the playoffs. And if you're listening this morning, when we drop on Friday, then you know the Jacksonville Jaguars won. And as of this very second, the Jaguars are first in the division. So this is going to be a rough uphill battle for the Tennessee Titans. Okay.
Hey, I got a bold claim, Wes.
Oh, let me hear it. Let's do it. What's up?
I got a bold claim. I think people are probably thinking this too. So it may not be like crazy bold, but the Jaguars are going to win the division.
I don't think this is bold anymore. I think we saw some glimpses the first few weeks of the season, and it was interesting to think, hey, the Jaguars might have a shot. But I think after Tennessee got enough games ahead, it felt like this was Tennessee's division once again. But I don't think it's bold, but I think you're 100% correct.
There is going to be a playoff game played in Jacksonville, Florida in January.
How about that? That's awesome.
Incredible. I love it.
That's fantastic. All right. Hey, Noah, did you hear that the Colts lost their 33-0 lead on Saturday to the Vikings?
I did.
Did you hear about that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Guess who also did? Matt Ryan. And now he's been benched again for the Super Bowl MVP, Nick Foles. Now, they haven't announced officially if Nick Foles is the indefinite starter, but he will at least be playing this week against the Los Angeles Chargers. How about that? Colts are in shambles. Anyway, speaking of shambles, Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin said that Kenny Pickett will start once he has cleared concussion protocol, which is likely to be this Saturday against the Raiders, meaning that they're going to play him. It's not Trubisky. It's not going to be for any reason Mason Rudolph. Tomlin also noted that Deontay Johnson has a minor turf toe injury, but it doesn't seem to be much of a concern, so he should also be good for that Saturday night primetime game. Finally, guys, Dallas Goedert is officially off IR. They were talking about last week. We were excited to have him back, but just last minute, they just didn't activate him in time. It's official. He's off of IR. He'll be ready to return to action for the first time since week 10 of this season. A little bit of a surprise, but hey, in New Orleans, Chris Olave will be out for the Saints this week, and Jarvis Landry will not only be out, but he's now been placed on IR. This makes Rashid Shaheed the number one wide receiver option this weekend. Talk about Fluker for real. I don't know. There may be no other choice. He may just have to get targets based on how that Saints offense is rolling. All right. A.J. Dillon had a great night on Monday night, had 2 touchdowns, went out about around halftime, a little bit after with a concussion. He's already cleared concussion protocol. In fact, he cleared concussion protocol shortly after we released our Tuesday episode. So he'll be looking to repeat a third straight week of 20-plus points against Miami on Christmas Day. Brock Purdy was a limited participant on Tuesday for his oblique injury, as we saw on last Thursday Night Football. Purdy played through his reported injury. He seemed just fine to me. So he's expected to start again. No worries on that. Okay, this is just ridiculous here in Baltimore. Ravens wide receiver Devin Duvernay injured his ankle during practice on Tuesday and was placed on IR because of that injury. Almost immediately, the Ravens signed Sammy Watkins, who was waived by the Packers just before their Monday night matchup against the Rams. Watkins did play for the Ravens last year, so if you're looking for any kind of chemistry, okay, there's that. But even though he's expected to start on Saturday, he will still sit behind Demarcus Robinson and Deshaun Jackson. Yes, that Deshaun Jackson. Yeah, he's still in the league, which makes Robinson and Jackson's Tyler Huntley's top 2 wide receiver options. And yes, it will still be Tyler Huntley as the starting quarterback for the Ravens because Lamar Jackson has once again been ruled out. If you made it to the semifinals without Lamar Jackson, great job. That's very impressive. But once again, another week without Lamar Jackson. We've been told 1 to 3 weeks. Hopefully this is the third and final week without Jackson. Okay. Texans' recent breakout wide receiver Chris Moore is questionable this week. However, Nico Collins has already been ruled out. So if Moore is good to go, he will likely continue to see his fair share of targets again, in case you're one of the fun people that are starting Texans wide receivers or anyone on the Texans offense now that Damian Pierce is out for the season. All right. Couple more here. Hang tight. Deontay Johnson currently has a turf toe injury. Talked about that. He should be good to go. Just one more note on that. George Pickens would be high target share. It's a double note. I wrote this twice, Noah. I wrote it twice. We caught some before the episode started. I missed this one. So sorry about wasting your time. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Okay. Josh Allen is dealing with soreness in his right elbow. This is the same elbow he injured against the Jets in week 9 and was diagnosed with UCL. Now, he's been limited this week in practice, but despite clinching a playoff spot, it's still very likely that Allen will continue to start and try to maintain that first seed. All in all, UCL injury hasn't seemed to be a setback for Josh Allen. So just something to note as you've been reading practice reports, if you have Josh Allen in your starting lineup, which you should. I don't know why he would be on your bench for any reason. Okay. Last 3 here. Kenneth Walker missed 2 straight practices this week, but he's still expected to play on Saturday per Pete Carroll. DJ Dallas also expected to play as well. On the flip side, Tyler Lockett had a very successful hand surgery following last Thursday night's game, which has Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll optimistic Lockett will only miss this week. Remember, Noah talked about him being wide receiver 8 before that season. He's important to your fantasy team if you still have him. Last 2. Finally, some good news relating star players' injuries. After missing some time this week with a foot injury, Nick Chubb will start on Saturday against the Saints. He hasn't been that great, but obviously you're going to keep starting him because it's Nick Chubb. Last bit of news here. Chase Young. Remember him? Defensive Rookie of the Year. He will finally play this week for the first time, wait for it, since week 10 of 2021. It has been more than a full season since he last touched the field, and we're just going to assume this bolsters the Commanders' defense in every possible way. That's it for the news. Let's go over the Jags and Jets game. Noah, how did you like watching that entertaining primetime game on Amazon Prime only? I
don't want to. I don't want to go over it. No, let's go over it real quick just because, we have to. And, I enjoyed watching it because I'll admit it, I think I'm jumping on a little bit of the Jaguars bandwagon here.
That's fair.
I've always been a fan of Doug Peterson. Trevor Lawrence is obviously great in college. And had high hopes for ETN this season coming into the year. But, it makes me so happy. I mean, we already mentioned it. It just makes me so happy to think that there is going to be a playoff game in Jacksonville, Florida this season in January. And it certainly feels that way just based off how this game went. It was Wes, I would probably say weather conditions were less than ideal.
I would concur.
Yeah.
I would agree with your hypothesis.
And that kind of led to our must starts not doing great for a number of reasons here. But remember Zay Jones, who had 6 catches for 104 yards and 3 touchdowns last week? So we were like, you know what? I don't see how you can bench him.
No.
Well, he had 2.1 fantasy points on Thursday night. And of course he did because it's fantasy football.
Because of course, that's what we
because
do
of course.
Control.
Yeah, because of course. It was not, like we said, just not great conditions, rainy, wet, just like cold, like not doing too much there. It wasn't a great time for any of the really any skill position players except for maybe 2. So not great there. Another one who wasn't great was Zonovan Knight. And you know what? He had 2.3 points 2 weeks ago or last week. Sorry. And he had 2.3 points on Thursday night. So I don't know what to do with this guy. I will say in addition to the weather not being great, the Jets suck. So,
oh my gosh, they are.
So there's that.
There is no way they are making playoffs. There's no way.
It's really something whenever. It's really something whenever the number 2 overall pick is getting booed out of his starting position for a third-string former Canadian Football League quarterback. Like, it is something else when that's happening, but it just things did not look good. Zach Wilson's first half stats here, and maybe a little bit into the third quarter that we talked, because he played like 1 or 2 drives, but he was 9 for 18 for 92 yards and an interception. Like, it was just I want to be clear. There were a lot of boos, and Zach Wilson is going to be the pillar and cornerstone piece of the conversation around these boos. The whole offense was so bad. So bad. Like, so bad. And it just didn't feel like anything was clicking. Didn't feel like anything worked. The only reason they got their 3 points was because of their defense getting a strip sack on Trevor Lawrence on the Jaguars' first drive of the game and immediately putting them into field goal range. Like, that's it. That's the only reason they have points in this game. This Jets offense, I am amazed that this team is where they're at record wise. What are they, 7-8? Is that where they're at right now?
Yeah,
7-8 after Thursday night. I am floored that they have won 7 games this year. I mean, I just don't even like. How do they hang tight with the Vikings and how do they beat the Bills? Like, what? Like how does this team like? It's just I'm baffled at the fact that they are 7-8 and that they are still technically in the playoff hunt. Man, I don't know what they do for quarterback. I don't think Zach Wilson plays another snap this season.
I don't think so. And I do think that
I don't think he plays another snap as a Jet.
Might as well. I mean, we don't have. Let's just talk about that for a second. I mean, do you really think that I was talking to my father. My father and I watched the game together. He and I were discussing just like it doesn't even look like Robert Saleh wants Zach Wilson to succeed with him. Not like he's against Zach Wilson, but it almost seems like he has just given up on Zach Wilson. Because when Zach Wilson comes off the sideline, Saleh isn't engaging with him. And I get that Saleh came from San Francisco as a defensive coach, helped lead one of the best defenses from the last 5 years to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo as a quarterback. But even as a defensive focused head coach, he has no interaction with his quarterback. And it just seems like that he's done with Zach. And I think Mike White's just going to be the starter for the rest of the season. And they may just stick with him next year. I don't know about that. We'll have to see what they want to do with the draft picks. They don't have the greatest position for the draft capital, but I mean, I think that's it for Zach Wilson. It's unfortunate just as, as a person, but I got the stats here. The Jets went 2 for 13 on third downs last night.
Yeah.
And that's just terrible. That's terrible. I have nothing else to say.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what they do for quarterback. I think so. Here's the thing: Mike White's going to be a free agent, and so I think they have to re-sign him. Obviously, if they want to do anything. I mean, there's no other free agents on the market really that would go to the Jets they have a legitimate shot at taking.
Man, unless Lamar Jackson.
Or unless Lamar wants to go to the Jets, but I doubt that happens. Brady, I don't know. Maybe he wants to make his way back to the AFC East. Like I don't know. I don't know what Baker. I don't know. Like I don't know who. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo. But I just don't understand. I don't know who or what the answer is for the Jets quarterback situation. If they want it to be Mike White, they have to make it worth it for him. They have to give him a deal where he is going to make. Where he's going to, get starter money and that sort of thing. They can't just re-sign him as a backup and then whatever. It's very confusing. And I know a lot of Jets fans were very excited when Zach Wilson was taken second overall in the draft.
Sure.
But man,
Well, let me
it is rough.
ask this for in the world of fantasy football, which is important to us here. Let's just transition to a risky start. I'll just start talking about Garrett Wilson, which was my concern, is that with Zach Wilson as the wide receiver, Zach Wilson as the quarterback, wide receivers all bombed. But Garrett Wilson has been great for most of the season, finished with 5 points plus a weird fumble. But, it's about 7 points if you take away the fumble. I mean, do you start any Jets offensive player even if Mike White returns next week? Do you like the Jets offense and the players enough to believe in them if Zach Wilson is out, or are you just off of the New York Jets team to try to win you a championship next week if you win right now?
I think I'm off. I think I'm off them. The only ones I would consider would be the only one I would consider would really be Garrett Wilson. Maybe Zonovan Knight if you're in like a really bad spot. But I don't think I'd start Zonovan Knight. Like I really don't. They play the Seahawks next week, so maybe Garrett Wilson. But also the Seahawks secondary is pretty good. Like their defense is pretty good this year.
The rush defense isn't fantastic. So Zonovan Knight may be a sneaky play, but even that, I'm not.
But do you want to? Yeah, it's like, do you want to start Zonovan Knight in the fantasy finals after 2 weeks where he's totaled 4.6 fantasy points?
Right.
Like, I don't think so. It's just tough. It's, I think this team, I think the Jets team is honestly pretty good barring the quarterback position. Like their run game isn't great, but the receivers are talented. Garrett Wilson, obviously. Elijah Moore is severely slept on because of, for whatever reason, he isn't using the offense. But he was a top talent coming out of Ole Miss whenever he was drafted. He played underneath DK Metcalf there at Ole Miss. Obviously, Corey Davis is like a veteran presence there. And then, CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin are good tight ends. Like those are talented players. I just I think the Jets really just have to look at everything and go, okay, like this is what Salah's third year, fourth year, something like that.
I think this is his second year, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me see here.
Find out.
Look it up real quick.
You're gonna look it up? Okay.
Yeah, I'll look it up real quick, just because I think it's, I don't know, like what?
It's so important.
How long does he? Yeah, like is he on the hot seat? I don't know.
I don't think so at all. Actually,
I don't think so. But it's like I don't know. Like, is he on the hot seat? It is a second year. It's a second year. Okay. He's on a 5-year contract. I don't think he's on the hot seat, but it's like, I don't know, if they don't figure out quarterback next year and they miss playoffs again, is he on the hot seat? Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, I think this team is actually good, but they just don't have the most important position figured out. I really think if they had a solidified quarterback who can do good things for a football team, that this team could put up fights every single week and do well. So I don't know. It's tough as far as fantasy goes. I still think Garrett Wilson next year is the top skill player to have on the team. Obviously we hope Breece Hall comes back and get back to form as where he was at. But they just got to figure out the quarterback position, man. This is tough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's not much to say other than I think the defense has just been exhausted from trying to make up from a lack of offense. And there was something that Good Morning Football even pointed out, is that they haven't had an interception. The Jets defense hasn't had an interception in a month. The Jets defense is good, but it's that kind of transaction where it's like, hey, when we can't be our best, can you make up for us? Jets offense can't do that too much.
Right. I don't think so. Yeah, it's tough.
And even just to transition into some of the other players' stats, the Jags just felt like they were just running practice drills. I mean, they never seemed worried about a third down. The rain didn't seem to bother any of them on offense. They just played football, won 19-3, and as of today, they're leading the AFC South, barring a Titans victory. I mean, holy cow. let's talk about the top two players from. Actually, we can talk about your risky start. How do you feel?
No, I mean, it goes hand in hand with that. It goes hand in hand with that. Like I said, I'm jumping on the bandwagon. I said it last episode. I am really excited about Trevor Lawrence next year in fantasy, especially with this offense plugging in Calvin Ridley into the playbook and into the offense here. I think Trevor Lawrence has just gotten to the point now of like, this is the guy that went first overall. Like we said it before, but like this, the game against a really good defense who got a key piece back in Quinnen Williams on the D line, who made an impact early, but it was just, Trevor Lawrence is becoming the guy that was taken first overall for a reason, and is showing up in the NFL that way. 6th straight game with 16 fantasy points or more for Trevor Lawrence. It is, and I love, listen, it might have been the weather, might have been the defensive pressure, whatever it was. 7 rushes for 51 yards and a touchdown. I freaking love it from Trevor Lawrence. Al Michaels was talking about it, and Al and Kirk were talking about it on the broadcast, where they said, people can't forget that Trevor Lawrence can run. He's a tall guy, yes, and he has like these like interesting strides. And I believe the quote was, he's not back there like a baby giraffe, just running around. It's like he is fast and he can run. And if you don't have someone to count for him, he can get you. He can pick up a first down on you really easily with his legs. I love seeing him being more mobile. He, I believe I read the stat, and I might butcher it. I think it's been like 6 straight games, and this seems minuscule, but I think it's like 6 straight games now with like at least 2 fantasy points coming from his legs. And that's at least. So obviously this past game on Thursday night, we got 11.1 fantasy points from his legs, that sort of thing. So it's a weird kind of wordy stat, but it's like he's more mobile than people think he probably would be. I like Trevor Lawrence a lot. And I know I said I'm not going to go with my instincts next year in fantasy, and I'm just going to do everything that I say not to do, and I'm going to take a quarterback early and all this stuff. But I don't know. It's going to be hard to not see where his ADP is at next season and go, man, the value you could get from that is crazy.
He's the much better version of Daniel Jones.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. It was so funny to watch, because you were watching this Thursday night football game going, wow, remember when the Jets won that meaningless game 2 years ago against the Rams towards the end of the season? Like, they beat the Rams for like, it was just absolutely meaningless. It was like tank for Trevor season and all this stuff. And the Jets beat the Rams for whatever reason. No reason at all, seems to be. Yep. And that put them out of the first overall pick. And the Jets could have had Trevor Lawrence. But for some reason, no, they didn't. And that's how things fell. And so it was watch these first, these picks go, 1 and 2 and all that sort of stuff. And we see how it played out tonight or last night. Sorry. And it wasn't very good. So it was not very good.
No, not at all. All right. Let's jump to some of our don't starts and some of the other players. Just recap a little bit left of this game, because honestly, not an exciting game. Pretty not especially for fantasy football. Fun narratives to talk about stemming from this game, but fantasy football wise, not too much to sit and chat over. Michael Carter, though, he 10 points. If you started him, kudos, I guess, but it all came in the passing game. Like, it was all, and I think that honestly could have been, potentially just like, okay, this is, a third string CFL quarterback who is coming in and needs to do some dump offs, stuff like that. It's garbage time, honestly.
Yeah, definitely garbage time. And it's, Michael Carter, only 2 carries, still only 4 less carries than Zonovan Knight. So again, this just emphasizing and hammering home, this offense is so dysfunctional, and really need to figure out what they need to figure out something if they want to keep somehow these playoff hopes alive, but it's not looking too good for the Jets here. And then my don't start CJ Uzomah. He had honestly a really impressive catch, because it was a terribly thrown ball behind him, that he had to stop his motion running one way and dive backwards for.
Right.
But he had a 30-yard catch, and that was it, 4 points. So, last week, fluke. And if he got cute and thought he's going to do it again, he didn't. So, sorry about that. Another tight end, though, that we have to talk about.
Dude,
I am so excited about Evan Ingram, and he might be. We talk a lot about fantasy playoff MVPs. His name is in the running already in the running. He's got between last week and Thursday night, he has, I think he's over 50 points over the first 2 weeks of the playoffs. He is out here, living his best life in a Doug Peterson offense. Doug Peterson loves the tight end position. We saw Zach Ertz breakout years, saw, glimpses of Dallas Goedert, that kind of thing. Doug Peterson loves the tight end position and schemes for it. And it was cool. They were talking about the narrative, not the narrative. They were just talking about, kind of Ingram's story. And he's kind of like the loose screw in the Giants offense, it felt like, and people were just kind of casting him out and they, didn't want him there anymore. He saw what the Eagles were doing in that division with the tight end position. And he liked Doug Peterson and said, I'll take a 1-year deal. Just let me come and prove myself. And he's out here proving it. And he is doing awesome. And I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to not bring him up in the conversation of like top 6 or 7 tight ends next season in fantasy. Especially if this is how this is going.
I think I'm willing to put him in the top 5.
I was going to say top 5, and then my mind went, am I going to trust Kyle Pitts again? And I was like, well, I guess I'll deal with that trauma later. So I don't know. We'll see.
If you look at the current rankings, Travis Kelce has a 120-point lead on the tight end too. Evan Ingram jumped into the top 5, maybe top
4.
6. Top 4. He jumped into that off of 2 games. Like, that's how weak the position is. So, if I'm seeing the consistency with a tight end like Evan Ingram, and now that Calvin Ridley could be part of that offense too, I'm not worried about too many mouths to feed, because it seems like that, part of our episode title is what to make of the Jags offense. We saw just a disappointment all around. It sucks that it's the playoffs, but it's raining. Jets defense is still good enough to kind of do something like this, but Jags are going to be great next week. So if you make it to the next round, I think Evan Ingram could be a huge reason you've made it to the championship by the end of Monday night.
Yeah, I agree. I think Trevor Lawrence has developed this rapport with him. He loves him and he trusts him. And so not that he doesn't with these wideouts, but it's in the rain, in the whatever, it's not super easy to, get these wideouts and these wide receivers and these X receivers and slots and all this stuff, these guys in space, especially when guys like DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner are covering them. And so for Evan Ingram to be a guy who is athletic, who's fast, he's agile, he's quick, a guy who is able to, take a 5-yard out route and go up the sideline for 20 yards, that sort of thing. Why as a quarterback would you not throw the ball to him? 8 targets, 7 catches, 113 yards, 18.3 fantasy points. Great week for Evan Ingram. Starting out the semifinals for anyone who started him in a really, really good way for sure. Let's just go through here real quick. Obviously, we talked about not great stuff from the Jets offense. Zach Wilson, less than 2 points. Chris Trevler, 9 points. Elijah Moore, 3.5 points. Corey Davis, 3.4 points. Tyler Conklin, 7.4 points. Again, we already discussed it. No one really you're considering besides Garrett Wilson.
Horrible.
Same thing with the Jaguars, but there's just guys that you're not, they have flashes, but you're not really going to consider them too much. But for the Jaguars here, Marvin Jones, 4.5 points. There's good talent around Lawrence, and they've surrounded him with a good cast and stuff like that. But the main guys you need to really worry about here are going to be obviously Zay Jones. Christian Kirk had a bit of a down week. Obviously 5.6 fantasy points. Everyone really besides Evan Ingram and Travis Etienne, as far as skill players, had a down week. So weather, hard defense, whatever you want to, chalk it up to. Just not a great week there. So, but Travis Etienne, 14.2 fantasy points, a little bit of a bounce back here, which is a good thing to see.
It's funny because he had over 100 yards rushing last week, but it was overshadowed by Trevor Lawrence's fantastic game. I think Etienne, I mean, look, if you just need someone to kind of get, close to 15 points for the running back position, I'm fine with that. Obviously I would like a 25-point game if I'm in the semifinals, but 14.2 points, that's not the reason you're going to lose. I'll phrase it that way.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely a good way to phrase it. We were both excited about Etienne coming into the season, Wes. I think he's shown flashes, and I think they're probably next season probably going to be a safer floor for him. He's coming back from injury, as well. And he dealt with an injury on Thursday night a little bit and was out for a few plays, went back in, still managed to have 25 touches. So he did pretty well for you in fantasy. Oh, okay. Now that we're done with that.
We squeezed every drop out of Thursday night's game.
Every drop. We just try to give you all the information you want to know and need to know. Enough of that garbage, though. Let's jump into, Wes, some very important semifinal studs and duds. This is huge. And so we want to give you guys the best advice, info, predictions. Hashtag never been wrong. Right information for your semifinals. Book it. Here we go. Wes, week 16 semifinals. I need the studliest stud you've ever had in your entire life. Who is it?
Oh, okay. It's not the studliest stud. I'm just gonna let me preface this. I don't mean to undermine what I'm about to say, but I wanted to think a little bit more about picking a guaranteed starter. Because if I was going to say, hey, Derrick Henry is playing an AFC South rival, buckle up for 200 yards, you're going to start Derrick Henry. So I really wanted to think more, regardless, you're going to start Derrick Henry. I really wanted to think more about who may you actually be on the fence about. So I'm going to try to talk you into this, Noah. I do want your honest opinion because this is worth discussing. So here's my sales pitch. My stud is going to be Darren Waller for week 16. All right. I'm going to make this like a commercial. Hi. Have you held on to Darren Waller for this entire season? You just couldn't quit him, could you? Well, now he's back, but is he better than ever? Look, he got a touchdown reception in his first game since week 5. Since week 5. Well, can you trust Darren Waller? Well, that brings us to this question here. Yes, you can. And I think he has a chance to get you into the championship game. Let me tell you, Darren Waller runs a route more than any other tight end in the NFL. 74% of his snaps, he's running a route, waiting to catch a ball from the Derek Carr. On top of that, he only blocks 1.2% of the time. God, Taysom Hill blocks more than him. So when Darren Waller has been asked to block in a pass play, I've counted. I did the maths. Here's the maths, baby. He has blocked 3 times on a passing play. He's been out on the field. He's a wide receiver. You can expect him to run a route almost every single time Derek Carr drops back. By the way, he is a top 15 tight end in average points per game. You probably didn't remember that because he hasn't played in 3 months. Well, that's why I'm reminding you. Now, this Saturday, the Las Vegas Raiders are going to be playing the bottom 10 pass defense in fantasy football, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I think I'm ready for Darren Waller to prove himself in prime time in the 50th year anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. Let me say that again because I really want that clip to click here. In the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, why Darren Waller deserved that contract, and I'm ready to start him in my lineup for the championship game. Are you? Seriously, are you? Do you buy that? Do you like it? I like Darren Waller. What do you say, Noah?
Wow. You have a voice for the arts. As a voice for the arts. I love it. You make a very compelling argument, Wes. I cannot believe that he only blocks on like less than 2% of his pass plays that he's on. It sounds very, very Mike Gesicki-esque, if you ask me.
Right.
And so, but with an offense that uses him, by the way, just a little sub note there for you. No, you make a very good argument, Wes. I think the Steelers are very subject to not being good against the pass. And I think somebody's going off this week for the Raiders. And I think a lot of people probably hope it's Devontae Adams. And I think I'm going to ride this one with you, Wes. I think you're right. I think there's going to be a big emphasis on Adams. And I think that Darren Waller is going to be a really good Week 16 stud. I like it. And I think that was the studliest stud you could ever give because you know what? Yeah, of course you could say Derrick Henry's going to go for, going to be a stud this week against the defense that he has rushed for 200 yards and 2+ touchdowns against for 4 straight games that he's played them. Of course you could say that. But that wouldn't be what you're looking for from Fourth Control Fantasy, baby.
Right.
You're looking for somebody and you're going, oh God, tight end's a wasteland. Is this, I don't know, Waller came back, but do I play him? He scored. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Dalton Schultz has been pretty okay for me. He's been a little up and down. What do you do? No. Darren Waller, Week 16 stud, book it. I love it, Wes. I love that stud for Week 16 for the semifinals.
You're a hell of a wingman. I appreciate that, Noah. Just a quick reminder, just how the Steelers defense performed last week. Donta Foreman, they play the Panthers. Donta Foreman, 0.9 points. DJ Moore, 18 points. So the pass defense is actually a struggle. I know Minka Fitzpatrick just made the Pro Bowl, but okay. And like TJ Watt is there. The rush defense is good, but
yeah. Should we talk about that for a second? Because TJ Watt has not played.
TJ Watt made the Pro Bowl
at all this season, and TJ Watt made the Pro Bowl. Like, what are we doing here?
Not this season. That's ridiculous.
No. Yeah, I know. He's one of the best defensive players in the league. What has he done this year? Like nothing. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
Absurd.
I guess the pressure he applied through 3 quarters of Week 1 to make Joe Burrow have 5 turnovers was enough for them to be like, book it, Pro Bowl, he's in.
Ridiculous. So anyway, there's my case. I also think Josh Jacobs is a better running back than a lot of these other running backs the Steelers have faced will be for Saturday. So I think, look, maybe one of them balls out. I think all 3 can ball out. I think Adams, Waller, and Jacobs are going to have a hell of a night. I'm looking forward to it. With that being said, Noah, give me your studliest stud you can possibly give our Fourth and Trollers to get them in the championship game.
Well, I'm ready to, Wes, because what I like about these studs and duds that we're doing this episode, Wes, is that we're getting down to the nitty gritty. We're taking a deeper dive. Mm-hmm. Like you said, it'd be easy to say Derrick Henry is going to be a crazy stud against the terrible Texans run defense. That'd be easy to say. We're going deeper here, Wes. We're looking at the deeper reasonings, the deeper logistics, the deeper numbers here. And you know what? I'm going to give you some deeper numbers to support my claim here that Tua Tagovailoa is going to be the studliest Week 16 stud that you could have in your lineup this week. Listen, it's been up and down as a Tua owner in fantasy this year, especially over the past month. But like I just said, I'm going to take a deeper dive, tell you why Tua is a top quarterback play this week against the Packers, besides his supporting cast. It's easy to look at the offense and go, look at the offense around him. Of course, the quarterback's going to be incredible there because look who he's playing with. That's too easy here. You know what? That's too easy. You know what? This Christmas, on Christmas Day, Tua Tagovailoa takes on the Green Bay Packers, and I'm expecting a boom week from the Southpaw there, from in Miami, from Hawaii, the Hawaiian Southpaw slinging machine. Listen, here's why. Tua has the second most deep completions amongst all quarterbacks this season. The second most deep pass completions amongst all quarterbacks this season. That's relevant because the Green Bay Packers are allowing the second highest completion rate on deep passes this season. Sounds like a match made in heaven for some fireworks. Are you thinking what I'm thinking here, Wes? Add to that the Packers have allowed 2+ passing touchdowns in 6 of their last 8 games. I'm expecting for the Christmas fireworks. If those are things, for some shrapnel from some nutcrackers to be flying around on this field, you know why? Because Tua is going to gift his fantasy owners a studly performance this Christmas. I'm booking it right now. Tua Tagovailoa, Week 16 semifinals, fantasy football playoffs. Absolute beauty of a stud. Book it.
Book it. I am, for several reasons, just going to back you up. One, I'm starting him in 2 of my leagues that I made fantasy. So
yeah, you are.
I really want that to be true. But also, here's the thing. We were very concerned, especially after the Chargers game. After the Niners, it was like, okay, tough defense. Excuse me, one of the best teams in the NFL. I get it. Down weeks can happen. But then after a second consecutive week where it was abysmal, Tua had like 6 total completions after like 25 attempts. It was like, you've got to be kidding me. Something is happening. No, they fixed it Saturday night last week against the Bills, and Tua played phenomenal. He played excellent. That was a wonderful game. That was the quintessential NFL fans primetime game. Dolphins at Buffalo in the snow, came down to 2 seconds. Both quarterbacks played great. Tua He's returned. Tyreek had a great touchdown. Jalen had a long touchdown. I look forward to seeing both of these wide receivers burn this Packers secondary. And the Dolphins defense, by the way, that front rush defense, that front 4 is certainly good enough to get in the backfield to sack Aaron Rodgers, stop the rush, and turn that ball over on downs enough times to get more time of possession for the Dolphins offense. I really like this matchup for all Dolphins owners, believers who've held on to Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert, Tua Tagovailoa. This is going to be a rewarding game for Dolphins fantasy owners. And I also really like that we are already kind of banking on 2+ touchdowns. And I think this is going to be guaranteed 250+ yards, 2 touchdown game from Tua. And that's going to be around, 18 points. Let's just lock it in, baby. The Polynesian Prince is going to get you to the championship. How about that?
Boom. I love it. There it is. Wes, give me a fat dud for Week 16 semifinals to close us out here on the show.
Yeah. So same logic as what Noah and I have done before. Maybe you're on the fence. Are you ready to start this player? Should I start this player? I'm not going to say something like, like Greg Dulcich is my dud. I'm not going to say someone random. Right. So I'm going to make it very clear here with some deep statistics, just like Noah said. My dud is going to be Mark Andrews, Baltimore Ravens tight end. Mark Andrews averaged 17.7 points per game, 9 touchdowns and over 1,300 yards last season. This season, he's averaging 12 points a game. He's on pace for 850 yards, and maybe one more touchdown would put him at 6 on the year. He's having half the season he had last year. Do not get distracted by the fact that he is technically in a full PPR league tight end 2 on the season, okay? Because as we mentioned earlier, Evan Ingram jumped to tight end 4 in 3 games because all the tight ends outside of Travis Kelce are just not that great. You know who's not been great as of late? Mark Andrews. Over the last 3 games, he has scored 19.2 points combined. That is combined. Mark, you used to be beautiful. What happened? What happened to you? You used to be elite. Oh, I can tell you what actually happened to him. There's no rushing game. They have no more wide receivers, especially now that Devin Duvernay is on IR. And obviously, there's no Lamar Jackson. So perhaps even if with J.K. Dobbins, you think maybe there's going to be some kind of ground game to help the defense allow Mark Andrews to get open. No, it's not going to return to form because Lamar Jackson is the form of the Ravens offense. I need fourth controllers that own Mark Andrews to seriously consider your other options for tight end this week. I know Mark Andrews is a name talent, but he's not played like the tight end 2 that he deserves to be, and you deserve better. Here's a fun fact. Hunter Henry has scored more points than Mark Andrews in these last 3 weeks. And in fact, he has scored more in 2 of the 3 weeks total than Mark Andrews has. And he's rostered in 29% of leagues, and he's tight end 25. With Tyler Huntley starting again, I'm going to challenge you to find a better tight end if you want to make the championship game. Mark Andrews is a dud for this week.
Yeah. It's really painful to say. It's just the Ravens were supposed to be like hot and popping offense this year, man. And they started out really good. And they, for fantasy, Rashad Bateman had a couple 20-point weeks. Mark Andrews was lighting it up. Lamar Jackson. I think in like our 4th week of episodes, Wes, we were like, well, Lamar Jackson's going to be the MVP this season. And then a lot of stuff just seemed to happen that on the surface level, you probably wouldn't even like recognize. And I don't really have an answer as to why this didn't go how we all hoped it would, but the Ravens they're still winning, but it's not like good games. Like obviously they lost to the Browns last week. I'm worried for the Ravens come playoffs because this team is not looking too good. And the key pillar that we were hoping for from this offense, besides Lamar Jackson, was Mark Andrews. And you're right, Wes. The difference between what did you say, 120 points? Travis Kelce had on
it's
Mark
something
Andrews?
Like that. I don't have the exact.
It's over 100.
It's well over 100.
It's over 100. Like it's over 100-point difference. And then Wes, this dud pick just further solidifies kind of what we've been saying is that Travis Kelce is worth the pick wherever you're taking him in drafts next season because man, the advantage you get by having that guy on your team is crazy. Yeah, Mark Andrews is a big old fat dud this week. I like it, Wes.
It's just upsetting because obviously Mark Andrews deserves to be, or he should be playing better, and people that drafted him deserve to have better points. But obviously I'm not going to ignore that the Ravens have been riddled with injuries, and their top 2 wideouts they traded Marquise Brown in the offseason, and then Rashad Bateman went out with a foot injury a couple weeks into the season, and now Devin Duvernay is out, and J.K. Dobbins has been hurt most of the season, and Gus Edwards has been off and on, and Lamar Jackson is out. And it's like, obviously their offense can't do much, and you just have to accept it and find a different tight end. That's all I'm going to say. So that's my dud for the week. Please help us out. Help us get to our championships. Bench the right players. Who is our dud, Noah, in your opinion, week 16?
Yeah. So it's our dud for week 16 here. It's going to take you on a little bit of a journey. Remember when Amari Cooper was averaging 16 points a game with Jacoby Brissett this season? And we all were like, man, this is just with Brissett. Like, what's it going to be like when Deshaun comes back from suspension? Like, what's it going to be like? Oh my gosh, Amari Cooper just put up 32 points with Jacoby Brissett against the Bills. Like, wow, like what's going to happen here with Deshaun? This is going to be crazy. Wow. Oh man, what silly times we were living in, Wes, because Amari Cooper sucks with Deshaun Watson. He sucks. Not only does Amari Cooper suck, the whole Browns offense sucks with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. This team is so bad that I'm honestly willing to say I think Jacoby Brissett should be starting. Like just truly. Like it's this team is so bad And this offense is so bad with Deshaun Watson at quarterback that just bring Brissett back at this point. If you want any chance at a playoff shot, which I don't even know if they're still in the hunt. I don't think they've been officially eliminated, but a lot of stuff needs to happen. But if you want any chance here, like I truly think the Browns might lose this week against the Falcons with Desmond Ridder at quarterback, by the way. Sorry, the Saints. I apologize. Still the Saints with Andy Dalton at quarterback, by the way. But all of that is beyond the point. Let me tell you why you should bench Amari Cooper this week. And like I said, with all of our studs and duds so far, we're going deeper. We're going deeper this week for the playoffs because it's easy. It's too easy to give the big names. So we're going deeper here. Here's why Amari Cooper should be on your bench. This game has the NFL's lowest over-under of total points since 2009. 2009. 13 years has gone by. There hasn't been a lower over-under prediction for points scored in a single game by both teams. 32 points. 32 points is the prediction to be scored this weekend in Cleveland. You want to know why? Well, as I previously stated, the Browns suck and the Saints aren't all that sexy either. So that's one reason. But here's another reason why it's going to be so low scoring. The wind gusts in Cleveland this weekend are expected to hit 50 miles an hour. 50 miles an hour wind gusts in Cleveland this week in 10-degree weather. 50 mile an hour gusts in 10-degree weather. Tell me something. Are you going to put your fantasy playoff hopes on a struggling Amari Cooper playing in 50 mile an hour wind gusts in 10-degree weather this weekend? I'm not. Amari Cooper's a massive Week 16 dud. And yeah, good luck. If you're starting Amari Cooper this week, you're going to be really let down. So I hope you listen because he is not going to be he's not going to be good this week. Week 16 dud Amari Cooper.
You were already giving like good stats and insight on the Browns offense. Like we've been talking about it for weeks. Fluke or for real? Like, is it time to say that Nick Chubb is going to be averaging less than 10 points every single week with Sean Watson? And then you just mentioned, oh, by the way, 50-mile-an-hour winds. Will that help? And it was like, oh my God, I don't want to start I don't care if it's Josh Allen or Mahomes. Like, I do not start.
Yeah, that Browns
and Chiefs.
Yeah,
Super Bowl. It's gonna be that's hilarious.
That Browns stadium is right next to the water, right there in Cleveland too. I don't know if you've ever seen that or not, but it's like right next to just like the open air, just like the ocean is right there, and it's just it's just gonna be well, maybe not the ocean, actually. I'm not very good at geography. I don't know if that's the ocean. I think it's just like a big old lake, but wide open air right there just for just blow on through. Oh, Amari Cooper's wide open. Oh, there's a woman in the 8th row that just got pelted with the ball. Oh, somebody check on her. It is not a good situation as far as weather goes for a lot of games this weekend. Obviously, it's December. It's Christmas weekend. It's December 24th, 25th. It's going to be cold. There's a lot of really, really, really cold games happening this weekend in the NFL. So, but just cold is fine. But you had 50-mile-an-hour winds onto that, and that is just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Well, I also don't want to, I don't want your point to be distracted by the hilarious wind, which to finish that sidebar, the stadium was right outside Lake Erie.
Yeah.
So
okay,
it is in a very cold spot. With that being said, I mean, this offense, this was our conversation that we had when Deshaun Watson returned from his suspension, and we saw how great Amari Cooper was. And, you and I were willing to admit, hey, this doesn't look, we thought it wouldn't work out for Amari Cooper, but he's been great for the start of the season. And then like after that Monday night game or whatever it was, that Halloween game between the Bengals and Browns. Like the Browns have just not been that great or that efficient on offense. And then you add a quarterback who hasn't played a game in 2 years. Yeah, no wonder. So I think it's, again, this is part of our deep dive, which has been so effective for, I think personally, in our studs and duds segment, is that these are players that you are legitimately questioning whether you have to start. And I think we have given some really solid facts and good basis for why someone like Amari Cooper should stay on your bench and trust with some, stick with someone more reliable that has been successful the last few weeks. So Noah, it's my high five for you. Great job.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's definitely just, we're trying to give the best info we can. Best studs and duds ever right there. But that is going to be all the time that we do have for this episode. Wherever you're listening, we'd appreciate it if you give the episode 5 stars and write something funny in the review so we can give you a shout out next time. We're on social media everywhere at Fourth and Troll and on Facebook at Fourth and Troll Fantasy. Look for our mascot, Tidy the Troll, and make him smile by giving us a follow and joining us next time every Tuesday and Friday. I'm Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
Have a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. This has been Fourth and Troll Fantasy.